This is SoulCharge, the podcast for women leaders to take the highest level of ownership of their power to create results now. I'm your host, Stacy B. Let's dive in. This SoulCharge episode is not only near and dear to my heart, but it is truly the spirit of SoulCharge. And I truly feel honored to talk about it in the depth that I'm going to go into today, because this is it. It is the truth. It is omnipresent. It is omnipotent. It is the divine. It is source. It is what is within you, and it is within me, and it is what is unconsciously running our business if we don't harness it. And that is the law of oneness. Everything that is going on in your life, everything that is going on in your life and everything that is going on in the business is a direct reflection of your internal state. Good, bad, or indifferent, the law of oneness is always at play. If you are fragmented, if you are disconnected, if you are self-compromising, if you are in resonance with those things, you are going to experience that in your external world. If you are having a lovely experience with your team, with growing the team, if you are having a lovely experience with the clients and growing the clients, that is a direct reflection of the law of oneness at play. So I want to give you a little background of how I landed here and why this is the spirit of SoulCharge, because it's so powerful. And the more that we harness this, the more that we come into our truth, right? And it's like, at the end of the day, what my intention is for this podcast, for you listening to it, is that it cracks you open. That in that cracking you open, what you see is the truth of who you are. That the more of you bring to the table, the more successful you're going to be. The more unapologetic that you are, because that's who you are, the more you show up in that, the more you're going to get what you want. The more you ask for what you want, the more the world gives that to you, because your ability to ask is your ability to receive. And so my journey with this conversation on oneness is really interesting. So growing up, I mean, you all know, right? If you've been following me for a while, listening to this, you know that I always had the woo in the woo, right? And I remember being in 7th grade and the volleyball team was all stressed out and we were at volleyball camp, and I gathered everyone around and I taught them how to meditate and brought order to the chaos. And that was always my role, right, growing up. And when I was 19, that's when I started real estate. And I had these two different people that were in real estate. So they were realtors, not connected, at different real estate companies, contacts of mine, that individually came to me and told me that I needed to go and get this oneness blessing. I needed to go explore this oneness blessing. And I grew up non-denominational Christian. We went to church sometime. Like, my grandfather and, grandparents, like, very devoted Christians. But, it wasn't like an everyday thing for us at home. But I grew up like very open. I think the one thing that I always believed as a child was, that I found it interesting that the different churches that I would go to all were teaching the same thing with different concepts developed by man's understanding to create Lutheran, non-denominational Christian, like these different spin-offs of the same teaching, which is oneness, which is love, right? So at a very early age, actually, like oddly early, I started having this kind of contemplation around, I think it's interesting that these churches at the core are all teaching the same thing, but have created separation in a way as man's concepts of the teachings has been developed over time. So that was like an early contemplation. And even as I say that, I'm like, wow, that's super fascinating that as a young child, I was having those kinds of thoughts. Fast forward back to being 19, these two people are telling me about this oneness blessing. So I go and explore this oneness blessing, And it was super interesting because it started a journey of spirituality and oneness that obviously I had no plans for. And what that journey was really bringing oneness into business, oneness into leadership. And so that oneness experience was what brought me to India, is what really sealed my understanding of what I'm supposed to do in the world and how I'm supposed to, package this up, so to speak. And so, as I got into like oneness, there's so many perspectives. And so when I'm talking about oneness to you right now, I'm talking about the law of oneness. And you can research this. It's a universal law. But in short, what it represents is that you are not separate. And if I can tell you, and really make it concrete of like what I am, what we are doing this work, right, at SoulCharge, like what is the point of all of this is removing and neutralizing the things that are attached to your soul, right? We all have all of these programs and conditions and traumas and things that are silently impacting how fast and how easy and how happy we are. And it's like, my intention is that you can realize true consciousness, true calm in your consciousness, and a level of alignment and intentionality that, combined with other universal laws, such as law of assumption, that you can start to see how supported you are and what your true divine state is. Because the struggles that you may experience, both the good and the bad, but specifically, it's like, if we could build our lives and have less struggle, that would be awesome, right? Like building a business in a state of ease and joy is not what we are taught. We are taught dog eat dog. There's this struggle. There's this hustle. Like not everyone can win. There's not enough room at the top. Not everyone can share the limelight. And all of those models are being destroyed right now. Energetically, they're going away, and the rise of the new is here. And that's why I'm talking about this with you today, right? Because it's time to bring this level of conversation to the podcast. It's what we teach in our programs. But more than anything, we subtract the things that are blocking you from your oneness, because your original state is one. It is one. You are one with the thing that you want. And even wanting is saying that we're separate from it. So I'm even going to just like look at that language, right? Is like, you are one with the desire. You are one with the thing that you see and that you want to experience. And when you start to move through the world in that, everything in your wake rises to that level of awareness, of consciousness. And that is what the world needs from us most as leaders. And not even that the world needs that from us. I want to say that differently too, is like the world is ready. The world is ready for the shackles to come off and for the next version of you and the next version of leadership to emerge into the world and model oneness. Oneness in business is really seeing that everything is one. It's so simple to, say, but so kind of like sometimes hard to comprehend, right? Because it's like, if everything is one and I don't like how this person is behaving, it's like, well, if you look closely, the thing that is bothering you about the person, in other words, like the trigger, is likely coming from like an old personality or identity that is not of use or of service anymore. And it's actually blocking you from being one like with the ultimate outcome. And so much of the work at SoulCharge is subtracting these things and clearing the path so that you stop getting in your way. Because when you arrive at the understanding and the knowing, the truth, which is you are the creator of it all. You have been designed to co-create with Source and literally be God's hands and feet. And there is a oneness principle at play. And so we have to take that seriously and really look at the things that have happened, but that are continuing to perpetuate behaviors and power leaks and things that like are no longer of service to you. And so really wrapping our arms around and head around oneness in business is truly the greatest law and the biggest opportunity to live in alignment. There was a lot of work done by David Hawkins. David Hawkins had created this map of consciousness. And, what he did is he took our emotional states and rated those states, numerically to give a visual, and also did a lot of research that backs this up, but also to give a visual of when you feel a certain way, or, when you're in struggle versus when you're in bliss, when you're in joy versus when you're in anger, that each of those feelings is a frequency. And what I am observing in real time, and I know you are too in the land of business and entrepreneurship and just in the world at large, is that these frequencies and energies are shifting. And the more that we can come into the highest level of ownership, that we have the ability to shift how we feel, right? And not just to put a Band-Aid on it, or not just to suppress it or not feel the thing, but actually shift how we feel from a permanent perspective and get out of our own way. That allows us to actually resonate at a higher vibration, right? And so in that higher vibration, when we look at business, we can start to move in the marketplace in these energetic principles. And the laws of business don't necessarily, they're breaking down, they're archaic, right? Because what has to come is the two worlds, the oneness, right? The oneness of the external importance of taking action, the oneness of the external importance of, aligned action and leaving no stone unturned and all of that. That the external has to come together with this internal resonance, that you're not just going through the motions of the external, but when you harness the internal world, that is your biggest point of leverage. That is what creates the oneness. Think yin and yang, like it's this balance. And we've been so imbalanced as a society, leaning on strategy alone, leaning on action alone, that what a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders find themselves doing is they're doing all the things and they feel so empty, or they feel so disconnected. And when you're disconnected, doing things, you're literally a super fancy luxury car driving with no fuel. And I am not a mechanic, but I can only imagine what happens to that beautiful luxury car when it is driving with no fuel, right? Other parts of the car start to break down. And that is what is happening in leadership right now, is so many leaders have been only using the doing modality, and they are empty, they're unfulfilled, they're burnt out. It's showing up in physical ailments. It's showing up in relationship dynamics changing. And what we need to do is bring this back into alignment. We need to bring it back into the oneness that is our natural state. When we can bring that into business, what happens is there is this incredible flow that is, it is this feeling of expectation of just like, but of course energy, right? But also the same time detached from that expectation. It is just this total observation of how beautiful life really is and how beautiful it is that we have the opportunity to literally live at a time that we can honor and harness our internal state and translate that into momentum in the marketplace. Like, can I just get an amen here? Like, listen to these words. We get to create solutions to improve humanity, to transform people, to up-level people, to create a different tomorrow. We literally get to create and experience momentum in the marketplace by no longer exchanging one for the other. That law is dead. That belief that I can't have it all is dead. And the law of oneness is kind of this, like, I want you to have this visual of like, is this like magic carpet that's available to you? Then that magic carpet is getting what you want on your terms, no matter how crazy it feels, because I have said this to you before, but I'm going to say it again. You have been chosen. You have been chosen. You have been chosen to do something on this planet that only you can do for the solutions only you can provide. The way you see things, you have been literally chosen to see things in that way, to solve things in that way. You are chosen to do that. And you can only see that in the way that you see that and bring it to the world in the way you know how. And we have this opportunity to do that. And I think, you know, if this is the first time you're hearing about oneness and the law of oneness, you have this opportunity to take ownership of things being fragmented in your reality and doing a little investigation internally and setting that right and creating on purpose. Hear my words. How cool is this? You literally can have your life by design. And this principle, this law, is this magic carpet that is just waiting for you to step on and say, you know what, I'm going to take a close look at myself. I'm going to look at the fragmentation and the dissonance and where I might be going off track. And I'm just going to own it. And I'm going to go, okay, what is this showing me? How can I clean this up? And then see, be free, and then intentionally create what you want. That's what's waiting for you. That's what's available to you. Take it. Take the opportunity. Claim it. It's yours. It's waiting for you. And by you taking this wisdom into the marketplaces, you don't just then take your goods, products, or services and change the world with it. You also do it with a beautiful internal state. You do it with an internal state of alignment. Guess what that does? Every person you speak to, your energy emits. You have the ability then to ripple effect onto them without it even being about them buying your products and services. So take this seriously. Take this opportunity seriously and see the amazing opportunity that you have to execute this law of oneness, to be aligned with this law of oneness, and to start to integrate it into your life and business. Are you loving SoulCharge? If so, hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and share an episode. We want to bring powerful content to women leaders each week so that women can be unleashed to create the results that they want now. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.